and welcome to Transatlantic Watch Party, our TikTok live podcast where we discuss, Dan and I, an episode of television that we have watched separately. And this week we are discussing 911 as ever, season 9, episode 5, Dia de los Muertos. Okay, so, I wrote my notes in a different way this week. I had like 4 sections. So I had emergency Eddie Athena book.
Okay.
Because I thought, we go through it like blow by blow, and I thought it might be quite interesting to talk about like one storyline at a time. But in actual fact, I don't care if we talk about anything. I don't care about anything that happened in the episode. The thing that happened at the end, devastating, heartbreaking, yes, I do care about that. But I just want to spend an hour talking about what has probably become my favourite emergency, which was the guy who thought he was dead. I just loved it. It was just brilliant. I was so excited to watch it again.
It was a very good. It was a very good Halloween episode. Again, I'm questioning why they didn't air this last week. I get they had to get a 4-part series to get through for the opening, and this would have been better time for like the week, because the whole thing happens in the week leading up to Halloween, right? This whole episode, so it would have been like, oh, all these Halloween things happening as we're approaching. Right.
It all happens in the week leading up to Dia de los Muertos, which is a week after Halloween, is it?
Day after Halloween. I think it's actually the next day. It's moving, I believe. Yes, I looked that up. So it's basically, anyway, whatever. I mean, they have their airing schedule and they have to stick to that. But it would have been better if I would have been felt really into it. Like, okay, yes, that was a good emergency. All these emergencies were good, but my favorite had to be the giant pumpkin roller down the street. I absolutely loved it.
Oh God, that was like the height of ridiculousness. And I talked to my mum and dad about 911, and they roll their eyes and ask why I'm still watching it, and it's hilarious. And sometimes it's because I'm going, oh my God, and then this happened, and it was so stupid, and then this happened. But this week I told them about it, and they were just laughing their heads off, like in a good way. I just thoroughly enjoyed myself. So yeah, what should we talk about first? What do you want to talk about? Eddie Athena book or the emergencies?
Eddie. Let's start with Eddie, because he was kind of the main focus of the whole episode. Like, I know that we did talk about Athena and Buck as well, but it was really focused around Eddie for the most part.
Yeah. It was an Eddie-centric. It was his culture. It was, it was his grief that we were dealing with, this week. And I loved the opening monologue and the parade. It was so beautifully shot. It was so cinematic. And the costumes and makeup were just absolutely top notch. It was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It was really well done. But
have you ever seen? I know you're in Canada, so I don't know what your Mexican community is like in Canada. Have you ever seen a Dia de los Muertos?
Not here. I don't know. There's probably groups that do something, I'm sure, but no, there's not a huge community here. Yeah, not aware. November 1st is my mother's birthday. That's the only thing that I celebrate on November 1st. So
okay, fair enough. I'm sure she's very pleased about that.
She was very excited this year. She was 6'7". She turned 67, so they made a joke about the 6'7" thing at her work, and it was quite funny.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I still have no idea what that means, but it's funny somehow. I don't know.
You know what? I actually saw a video about where it came from, and I was like, "Oh, it came from something." Okay, so I get it now. It's only funny because it's a thing that everybody's doing. That it doesn't come from a comedy place. But yeah, so we get the beautiful opening monologue, where he's talking about how he knows death, and he does. And then the next time we see him, Abuela and Tia Pepper are there. The whole Abuela of it all. First of all, I often think she looks the same age as her daughter. Like,
yeah, I thought they were sisters at first. I wasn't sure I thought she's his aunt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or she is his aunt. That is his aunt, and that's his grandmother, right? That's the relationship there, right?
Yeah. Yes. So there's Tia Pepper with the curly hair, and then with the long hair, that's Tia Pepper's mum,
Yeah.
thus Abuela. Yeah, we haven't seen her for a while, and we all love Abuela. We're all very excited to see her back, and we learnt something very important in that conversation. So they were sitting around the dinner table, talking to Chris, telling him stories from Eddie's youth, and we learnt that he drove his friends around in his parents' car when he didn't have a license. But most importantly, and they just slipped it in there, he can hotwire a car. And that made me think back to, because they called him Golden Boy, and it made me think back to, you know, when Ravi and Buck went out, and Buck would not shut up about Eddie.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he took the boot off the car, the clamp off the car, and you know, well, he wouldn't do something illegal. Eddie's got a silver star, and I'm like, does Buck know that Eddie can hotwire a car?
Well, didn't always have that silver star. He's a rambunctious teenager. But it was good to see Chris. I say that about that scene. It was really nice to see Chris around the table, and yeah, he's a great character. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah, I wish we had more Chris. I feel it's really odd the amount of Chris we get compared to the amount of Ravi we get, considering Chris is a regular and Ravi is not. And you know, I always feel like, and I know it's a lot to do with, I think Chris moved away from LA. The actor, Gavin, moved away from LA. So now he has to like fly in. But I think he did that when they made him a regular. So they must have been, you know, and I don't know, I don't understand how contracts and scheduling and, you know, how you have to sort of credit people works. Maybe it was their way of keeping him in the show, like, yeah, we're willing to fly back if you make him a regular, like, and you pay him as a regular.
Right.
But yeah, comparing like how much we see the other people who aren't, you know, who aren't names. I always want more Chris. I think he's fabulous. Then we discover that Eddie, Tia Pepper and Abuela have been snooping in Eddie's kitchen.
I didn't really get that at first, but yeah, that he quickly let us know that this is, they show a Bible and a rosary, and they're just excited because they think he's praying. They think he's like coming back to the faith. I guess I might have missed this in previous episodes. Did he lose his faith at some point? Is that something that he's been struggling with?
Well, yes, it's something that he always talked with Bobby about.
Okay.
It was something that very much connected them. Bobby was a practicing Catholic. It was a very big part of Bobby's life, his faith. And Eddie had moved away from his faith. You know, it had never really felt like a thing he was Catholic in the way that a lot of people are like brought up Christian, and, you know, he was made to go to church and stuff, but I don't know that he ever really...
Yeah, he hated going. And his abuela's like, she feels bad he hated going. Right? She just didn't like, I mean, but of course he did. He's a kid, right? What kid wants to sit through that every Sunday? It's not very exciting. So yeah, it's completely natural.
He wanted to be hot wiring cars. So, yeah. And so there's a lot of discussion in the fandom about religious trauma that Eddie has. And I don't know if that's a canon or a fanon thing. You know, I don't know if I can't quite remember if that's totally headcanon, if we've made that up, you know. But like he married Shannon when she got pregnant when they were like 18 and 19 because his parents were religious, and so you know, so all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is, and also the way that he responded, oh my god, you didn't see it. He discovered that his girlfriend at one point was studying to be a nun, and he could no longer perform.
Okay.
Because he kept thinking like that God was watching them, and and like so there is obviously the religion has always hung over him. Right. But I liked the idea of him trying to stay close to Bobby. That was his thing of trying to, that was his way. Buck's baking, and you know, these were the things that Buck cooked with Bobby, and Eddie discussed religion with Bobby, so it makes sense that he would be looking for him there. And he says, I don't know if I'm doing it for me or for Bobby. He's very clear with his family about this might not be a permanent thing. I'm testing the waters.
Yeah.
I'm just giving it a go to see if it helps me in this current situation.
Right.
We later see him at morning mass with Abuela on a Wednesday. She's like, hey, you're definitely religious now. And he's like, and she's like, you came to mass on a Wednesday, on a morning. And he's like, no, I came because I came for you and I love you.
Nice save.
Yeah, and they were so cute. And he talked about being in church and never feeling God's presence.
Right.
In church. And she says to him that love, he came to church because he loves her. And she says, well, what is love but, the God's presence? And she puts her hand over his heart and says, you've been looking for God in the wrong places. And that's almost her saying to him, yeah, you don't need to be in church and you can have your faith wherever you want to have it. It was, it was very, she sort of took the pressure off him a little bit, which I like. I don't think you bring anyone back to religion by shoving it down their throats. So.
No, I think they're both pretty respectful of that. Like he was pretty upset when they found the Bible and rosary, but then he explained the Bible is Bobby's, the rosary is his. But it's not like he went out of his way to hide it. It's on top of this fridge. That's a hiding spot, really. But anyway, yeah, they're not being too aggressive about it, but they're happy to see him coming back, right?
Yes, definitely. And he says to them, he's not making Chris go because he doesn't want to force it on him, and Chris can make up his own mind as and when.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a good way to go, and also him learning from his childhood and trying to do better for his son, which I think is always a big thing for Eddie. He wants to be a better parent to his son than. He wants to have a better relationship with Chris than he ever had with his dad.
Yeah. For sure.
Then we get a little thing which I think brings in another thing, which is the emergencies. After he's seen... Oh, yeah. Bug's baking and they're trying the biscuits, the snickerdoodles. And Eddie's like, I'm trying to be open-minded about, things might be out there in the world or whatever. And Chimney's like, who hurt you, shapeshifter? You're not Eddie.
That's funny, yeah. That's funny.
So Chimney got a good line in there. That was a good joke. And then so he's trying to be open-minded, and then they go to the exorcism, which we will discuss in the emergencies. He comes back from the exorcism. He is obviously incredibly shaken, and Buck has the worst timing in the world, because this is the point at which he thinks it would be a good idea to say to him, hey, do you want to come over and do Ouija? Talk to Bobby in my house, because he thinks his house is being haunted by Bobby. Do you want to come over and do Ouija? And he doesn't fully explode at Buck, but he definitely is, tells Buck he's a bit of an idiot.
Yeah. And my favorite line from that whole thing is like, what? Its age is 8 and up. I checked. He's like, I checked the age.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay for Chris to play.
Yeah, Chris is 14. What's the problem, man? And Eddie is obviously not in a good place to be talking about spirits and stuff. And Buck's just barreling through in his golden retriever way, trying to make it positive. You said you were more open-minded, and he's like, I just watched a woman be, tortured.
Mm-hmm.
So no, maybe right now I'm not as open-minded as I thought I was. I was just like, no, Buck, it's just such bad timing on your part.
Yeah.
Also, we got a little bit of a continuity error just because he was holding the box in his left hand, then it was in his right hand. That was funny. And then the next time we saw him was the morning. And he was like, and Chris came in, and he was like, "Oh, you're up early," and he said, "Oh, well, I thought Abuela was cooking," and he was like, "No, she's not here," and he's like, "Yeah, she was in my room last night. She told me that she loved me and not to be scared," and I was like, "Oh,
no.
oh, they've killed Abuela."
That's you know immediately what that means, right? If someone sees somebody, that means they're gone. They come to say goodbye before they leave or whatever, right? I've heard that many times, actually. Stories about that, people seeing their loved ones on the night they die, having them stop by or whatever. That's a very common story.
Yeah, and if he's not going to be open-minded about Bobby haunting Book, he's surely going to be a little bit open-minded about his abuela coming to see Chris, to tell him that she loves him one last time and not to be scared.
Yeah. Or what are the chances of Chris having that specific dream on the night that his grandmother dies, right? That this is anyway. Yeah, it was very sad.
Yeah, and he goes to see Pepper, and they talk about, they're standing over Isabel's body and discussing, how Pepper found her and whatever. She was fast. She came round to take her to church and found her.
Mm-hmm.
Already with God. She didn't need to go to church. She's at the high table. She's having a whale of a time up there. She's done the work. That's fine. And she says, "Oh, I call, I thought the police." It was so sad when the way she said it. "I thought one of the officers would help me with what to do next."
Mm-hmm.
But I had to call the funeral, parlor and stuff. And I just thought the way she was just right at that point when she's called them because her mother's dead, and the police come round and they don't help because there's nothing for them to help with.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need someone to step up and help you. And oh my God, just that line really got me.
Mm-hmm. Me too. And I think that's probably based on something that's happened in real life, where people, like the police, show up there and they think, "Oh, there's nothing for us here," when they could really like just spend some time with somebody who's just lost somebody, and even just sit there with them. The woman just had to sit in the house with her dead mother in the next room, right? And they make a point, I think, of showing her over her shoulder when they said when Eddie says, "Let's pray," and they show the shot and they see the Wayla in the bed behind her, right? She's just sitting in the heart. So
Yeah,
she
says that she did call the funeral parlor, and they said it would take a few hours.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's the morning, and by the time they're taking the body, it's night. So yeah, it did take a few hours. And she's like, "I just don't know what to do until then." And then Eddie says, "Maybe we should pray," and she goes, "Yes, she would like that." And I love that as an idea. Mm-hmm. That they're doing it for her. Eddie doesn't have to worry about, does this make me religious? And, la, 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 la. It's just, she would want that. Mm-hmm. Let's pray, because she would really love knowing that we prayed for her.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lovely thing. Then we get Eddie going out with the body, going in the van, and him turning and seeing this incredibly beautiful parade that's going past. And he has another voiceover. And this is the final bit of the episode. And what I thought was really interesting was, in the voiceover, he talks about, you can't be sad straight away because there's too much to do. And you have to tell people, you have to organise stuff. It's the next day that you are sad. And he says, you're left heartbroken and angry until you realise you were never really alone at all. And I just thought that for Eddie Diaz, his default is anger. He falls back to anger very easily. In season 3, I think, we had a storyline where season 3, where he went off and joined an illegal underground fight club.
Oh, I think you mentioned this in the past. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And we've seen he hits out at Buck. And I often think I don't like it because I hate conflict. But And why do I watch dramas? I hate conflict. But I often think he hits out at Book because Book is his safe space. Like, he doesn't think Book will abandon him. I always find that a bit sad because Book's waiting to be abandoned by everybody. I worry that when Eddie loses him, he's like, oh my God, he's going to leave any minute. But I think he is relatively secure there. I don't know at the moment. I mean, they haven't really spoken to each other much this season. It's been very interesting, their dynamic. But when he said heartbroken and angry, and I thought, yes, Eddie is anger. And someone on TikTok was saying that all of the different people in the firehouse and Athena are the stages of grief.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And they said Athena is denial because she's still looking for Bobby everywhere. Eddie is anger. Chim is bargaining because he's constantly looking for something to make him the bad guy. Buck is depression.
Yeah.
And Hen is acceptance. She's like taking a breath. And, she seems to be, moving forward with stuff. And I thought that's very interesting. And I hadn't thought of that. But I thought that was a very good theory. And yeah, if we go on to Buck now, because I think the parallel with Eddie going back to anger, and that is often a default for Eddie. He's very sassy, he's very petty, and he can get a bit angry. Buck's thing that he often falls back on is fixing things.
Okay.
And I think when we get to the conclusion of Buck's storyline for this week, we get to a fixing things Buck.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a new project, I guess, right? With this guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
And it's something that he can link back to Bobby. And I thought it was lovely. So yeah, the first thing Buck is trying to do is unpack, but I don't think he's really trying to unpack. Maddie is very unimpressed with his unpacking abilities. I do love the fact that he's labelled a box K for kitsch.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's normal. You'll definitely remember that. Yeah, brilliant. He's trying to recreate Bobby's Snickerdoodles recipe. And there's something missing. He doesn't know what it is. First of all, he mentions to Maddie that it's been 7 months for him to move into this place. It took him 4 months to find it and 3 months to move in. Where's he been?
Staying with Eddie? Wasn't that where he was?
Yeah. Was he staying with the Harms because he was there with his baby Bobby, so-called baby Bobby? Or was he just there that evening and then he went back home with Eddie? Like, it just seems really weird that nobody's mentioned where he's been.
Maybe he's just been couch surfing this whole time.
Yeah. And he did that back in season 2, I think, and drove everyone mad. But he talks about the squirrels that he thinks might be in the attics. And then we got Maddie doing a nice throwback to her Ghost Whisperer days. When Jennifer Love Hewitt used to be on Ghost Whisperer. And she's like, I'm feeling something paranormal. And then he wakes up in the night, and I just wrote down, those are some big-ass squirrels. Because the noise they will make, and I know about noise because I have starlings that live in my roof.
Oh, okay.
And they live right above my bed. And they squeak at each other and squawk at each other and flap their wings and scratch away. And it's so irritating. But I believe they deserve somewhere to live, so I leave them there. I go, you know what? They weren't taught to get in there, and it's fine. They need to live somewhere. Okay.
You come keep the house, bang on the ceiling of the broom handle.
I have done that. I have done that once before. But yeah, so very noisy squirrels, and also not just, it wouldn't seem, in the attic, because there seemed to be like crashing, like a glass or something, and it seemed to be coming from the kitchen. He goes in, is looking around, and there is a bottle of cream of tartar on the side, and he's like, oh, that's what the cookies need. And I find that weird because I don't know anything about baking, so I don't know what cream of tartar is, but it makes me think of tartar sauce, which I eat with fish, and I can't imagine putting that in snickerdoodles. I have no idea if they are related in any way.
I don't think they are. I think cream of tartar is very different, as far as I know. But it does make me think of the Simpsons line where Mr. Burns gives the workers their tartar sauce. That was one of the this is way back, old episode of the Simpsons where they're going on strike, and Homer is the one kind of managing negotiations. He's demanding tartar sauce with the fish sticks, and that's one of the things he gives them. He's give them their tartar sauce. Okay, that's what they want. But it's not. It's a baking thing. I don't know anything about it either, but it is like a key ingredient for certain things. So I was like, is there a ghost? For a second there, I thought, is it haunted? Like, what's going on here? It did not occur to me what it ends up being. It did not occur to me at that time that there would be somebody else in the house.
No, because also it seems weird when we discover what it is. It took 3 months for me to get in also seems a bit weird. Like, I thought people disappeared. Now it seems like they would have done that earlier. So then he's very excited. He's in the kitchen. Oh yeah, and he thinks it's Bobby's ghost because he's put the picture of him and Bobby in the kitchen. So he thinks that Bobby is now like helping him out in the kitchen. And he's very excited at the firehouse because he's found the recipe, and he comes over to the core 4.5 because Ravi is like a half, and he ignores everybody else in the firehouse. They all lost Bobby too, you know. Jesus. But why were they all so horribly dismissive of him? It just felt mean.
Oh, I just took that as to being like, yeah, he thinks this is a big deal, but they don't. Like, they have no. He's like, I've been working on this for weeks, and he's like going on, and it's like they have not noticed that he's been working for weeks. I think this whole episode just shows how self-involved Buck is. He really when he gets into this, he really has blinders on. He does not care about anybody around him. He just cares about what's going on in his own world. That's really what I saw throughout this whole episode. Is that Buck's just like. He's not really thinking about anyone else in this episode, except for Bobby, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then Hen's line, because he's like, no, Bobby did it. Now, something to point out is when he says Bobby helped him with the recipe, and Eddie's like, people see things they want to believe all the time, and I'm being open-minded. But did not specifically tell them that little jar of cream of tartar had been physically left on his counter. I think if he'd said that, Eddie would have been like, dude, no. He just made it seem like Eddie could have interpreted that as, I suddenly got some inspiration. There it was, cream of tartar. He doesn't go physically, there it was. I wasn't anywhere near it. I came into the room, it was on the side. Because I think even Eddie might have been a bit like, I can't get on board with that. But I did like it when Hen said, "Tell Bobby we say hi." I thought that was quite nice. Yeah. Tell him we miss him is what she said, and I think actually that is what gives him the idea for the Ouija board, because they've got that shot on him where he goes. I was like, oh, she's told him to tell Bobby something, and this is why he's like, oh, I need to communicate with Bobby. He attempts to get Eddie in on his plan. That does not go well. And then he cons Ravi into doing it, which is mean. And again, like, maybe, yeah, he's so blinkered So he gets Ravi round, and Ravi's got his full get up because he thought they were going to a party.
Yeah.
And then Buck looks at him like he's insane. And I'm like, you told him.
But it's Raggedy Andy, and I think that was hilarious. He chose to dress up like Raggedy Andy, and he says women like it, or say some kind of thing about how the ladies like Raggedy Andy for some reason.
Specifically, single women.
You go, that's right. Single women go for Raggedy Ann because they want to be as Raggedy Ann, I guess. I don't know. But
they were like, he's gonna be him and because Hen's cheated, Eddie's cheated, Buck's cheated. So Ravi came in and very pointedly said, "Yeah, single women like it because I'm not a cheat." And so and also then they do the Ouija, and he's like, "Can you turn the lights down?" And he goes, "I don't think you need to do that." As if they're in like a horror movie. He goes, "No, it's because I didn't buy any candy and I don't want the kids to know it."
That's fair. Argana.
That was
here.
And then we got what we always get whenever someone's doing a Ouija board on film, which is them not spelling as they go. So he goes, "Oh, we've nearly got the full message. OT." Now, we obviously don't know what the first letters were in the word, but he at some point went, "Okay, this is another word. IDIOT. Let me just write that down. Did you not figure out before you wrote it down that it was idiot? Why are we not just spelling as we go?"
Yeah, I think because they wanted to cut that. That would have taken too long in the like runtime of the show. They need to cut it down. They need to get to that really quickly because I thought that I was expecting a lot longer scene in that whole Ouija thing. I thought they would like set the tone and have him ask him questions or whatever. Maybe there was stuff that got cut, but I thought there would be a lot more to that. And so to have him just go, and I got the feeling he was writing down the letters one at a time, and then wrote down IOT, OT or whatever, and then realizes that it says you're an idiot. I thought it was funny a lot.
Yeah, it's just how they always do it on screen. And I think if I was in the room, and I know you have your hands on it, so you can't write down at the same time, but I'm pretty sure it's a IDIOT. It's a 5-letter word, man. I'm sure you can.
Once you like you are an idiot, that you're gonna know how that's gonna end, right? That's a phrase pretty apparent, but it was funny though.
We take an educated guess, Buck. And the look he gives Ravi. And he's like, yeah. And then they hear the noises from the upstairs.
More evidence this time. There's more evidence that there's really a person there.
Yeah. And what is the evidence, Dan?
That they can discover him? Or what is it? Oh, you want, it's a footprint. A footprint that apparently he never left at any other time. But this time he leaves a footprint. He's had dirty shoes this time or something. I don't know.
He leaves a footprint right slap bang in front of the photo of Buck and Bobby. It could not be more pointed. And yeah, they didn't hear anything until he was in the roof. He is skilled. We should get him in, he should be a spy. Do you know what I mean? He should be out robbing the Louvre. What's he doing wasting his time living in Buck's house?
Especially considering he was also drunk, apparently. There were a lot of alcohol bottles up there when we finally get to see. So he's like a recovering alcoholic, and he's doing this, and he seemed kind of drunk when they took him away, honestly. I thought maybe he was drunk at that point. But
yeah, I don't think he's currently recovering. I think he's had he's fallen off the wagon. It's like, I can't remember what any of the terms are. And so they Buck looks there and they find him, and then he's being arrested, and Buck's upset because he thinks he was laughing at him. Oh, did you think it was funny to make me think that I was being haunted and stuff? The guy doesn't care anything about Buck. He's not doing anything. He's not thinking about Buck at all. He's just like, I don't want to leave this house, because he's the old tenant and he didn't want to leave. And so Buck flips because the guy goes, "He's right, you are an idiot." And Buck absolutely flips his lid and goes, "Yo, I'm going to press charges. And how you feel about that? Yeah, and you don't live here anymore." And he gets very mean. And And then he says to Ravi, why did you come out if you didn't believe in any of this anyway? And Ravi said, because it seemed like you needed it, which was really lovely.
Yeah.
Buck has never, like, when Ravi was first on the team, Buck chased him around the fire station with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
You know, so Ravi's put up with a lot of shit from Buck over the years. And he's still there for him. And I just think Ravi's a good guy, despite the fact that he's a landlord. I think that he's a good guy.
Right. Yeah, it was good. And he again, it was it's another case of Buck being completely self-centered when he's like, when he said that thing about making me think that it was haunted. I'm sure like that wasn't the guy's intention, and he's just there because he has nowhere else to live. Like he's there out of necessity, or I don't know if he had somewhere else to live, but whatever. He's there anyway, and he's not there. He's just there because he wants to stay in the house, not because of anything having to do with you, Buck. You just happen to be the person that moved into that house. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing to do with you.
Everything is not currently about you. Quite a lot of this is about Dwayne. And then we see him. I can't remember whether he's in bed again or where he is when he next hears the noise, and he thinks Dwayne's back, and he's like, "Oh my god, dude!" You know. My question is, what was making the noise that time? Because he wasn't back, and he goes up and he looks in the attic and he finds the sobriety chip, which makes him think of Bobby, and I was like, "Oh, Bobby is there." And he made that noise to lead him to the sobriety chip.
There you go. Okay.
He is there. Oh my god. And Buck goes. Sorry?
You said get the Ouija board out.
Yeah, get out again. Don't do it with Ravi or anyone else. Just do it on your own.
Yeah.
And so Bobby led him to the chip, I believe, and so Buck goes into fix it mode, and because he picks up the chip and he's like, "Hey, Cap." And he goes and he says, "I'm dropping the charges." And the guy's like, "Yeah, that's great. I didn't know where I'm meant to go now." And he goes, "How about a meeting?" And the bloke's like, "Oh, are you a friend of BW?" And he goes, "I'm a friend of a friend." So, which is something I never knew, was that they called it friends of somebody or other.
I didn't either.
Until I went on a cruise. And in the itinerary for every day, in the morning, there was always a friends of whoever meeting. And I was like, "Oh, I wonder what that is." And Mum went, "Oh, that's Alcoholics Anonymous." I was like, "Oh, that's clever that they sort of have a secret name for it." I mean, clearly, I mean, my mum knew it, and she's never been, but like, it's nice that they have like a little fake name.
Mm-hmm. Secret name.
Yeah. So yes. Athena had little bits throughout. We first see that Harry is moving in and that Bobby's stuff is in the wardrobe. I like that May said you don't need her permission, to go to the thing, because she's like, "You've been forced to move in with her and you don't need her permission." And he said, "No, but I want it." And I thought that was nice, because they've not been on the best footing recently, Harry and Athena. Then she comes home from a hard day at work, and I just wrote in all caps, "Fuck you, Harry."
Oh, I wasn't like, I kind of understood why he did what he did. Like, I got it. Like, he kind of wanted to kind of see how it felt, and the whole thing about the costume was not a good idea. I knew that wouldn't fly with her.
But I think he was going to wear it as a costume, because he's 18 and doesn't love it. I think because that was the first thing he said. And then he said, "I wanted to know what it felt like." And I thought that's an excuse, because she's lost her shit, quite rightly. What I was interested in was the way she lost her shit. Because she didn't say to him the stuff I would have said to him, which was, "Those are my dead husbands." That is so fundamentally disrespectful.
Yeah.
But what she said was like, "You're not mature enough to be a firefighter," and whatever. But I would never have been able to get over the fact that he thought it was a good idea, looking at the box of her dead husband's things that she's clearly not over yet, and get them out and put them on And then when she comes in, he's not even like, oh shit, you know, like trying to turn him off quickly. He's
Again,
totally like, ta-da!
not even thinking about anyone else, right? Similar to Buck, he's just thinking about himself and thinking, oh, this would be cool. Like probably tried it on, to see what it would look like, right? And then I guess wanted to go to the party, but obviously did not think about how that would impact his mom. Like that's clear that he was what anybody else in that situation, right? So
yeah. And I suppose the difference between him and Buck is that he is 18 and Buck is 34.
much older and therefore more mature. I don't know about that.
But I will say, this is the first person that Buck's lost, I think. You know, like Eddie's lost people before. But with Buck, I wonder whether there is something of him just going, I do not know how to be right now, because he's never gone through this before, so he has nothing to fall back on. Yep, and then we get a very short scene between Athena and Harry again, being it's not, you know, she's talking to his turnouts and going, you've influenced my kids and I'm happy about that, but I also kind of hate you. And Harry points out that, you know, Bobby isn't the only first responder that he knows, and he doesn't want to do this job because he wants to be like Bobby. He wants to do this job because he wants to be like his mom. Which is very cute, but never touch those turnouts again, you stupid boy.
Because his mom gets to do things like take out inflatable pumpkins. Which did not
The
get it.
best thing about that was how she shouted taser, taser, taser before she did it.
Is that what they're supposed to do? Is it right? That's the procedure?
Because also, I think it's to sort of, because they keep their gun on one side and their taser on another.
Well,
and I think I'm shouting taser, taser, taser is them sort of going, I've got, you know, it gives them time to check that
they have the right one, yeah.
they're holding the right one.
Yeah.
But yes, so the fact that she shouted an inflatable pumpkin.
I just love it. At a certain point, I think maybe for the whole scene, I don't get like maybe we'll go through the emergencies one at a time, but the whole scene of it is like they treated the pumpkin as though it was a perpetrator, as though it was like an escaped convict that was on the run. They're like trying to track it through the city. That was awesome. I love that whole scene. It was so funny. Like the emergency kit was
But like he was going right through the center of the city, it seemed. And I was like, how is there not more cops around? I know we did see that brilliant shot of the two cops sitting in the car as it just rolled behind them and they didn't notice. But like, how was there not like a car chase? The girl on the scooter with it coming towards her, like rolling up behind her like that thing from Indiana Jones. Get off the road!
Go to the turn, to the side. Turn off to the side. It's the same issue that Indiana Jones. Oh, Indiana Jones was in a tunnel. But like the same thing, whenever I see anybody fleeing something that's falling, there's another movie, I want to say it was some Marvel movie or something where that's happening. Something's falling like that. And it's like, move to the side, just shift over to the edge of the street and you'd be fine. And she, I guess, I mean, she's panicked. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's being chased by a giant sound.
She's panicked in the most hilarious way because it's, you know, and I was like, well, obviously, because I was going, shoot it, but you don't want to be just shooting on the streets. You know, you could.
I thought that's what they were going to do, though. I did think first that guy, when he pulled out I thought he was going to pull a shotgun out of that thing. And then when Athena shows up, I thought Athena was going to shoot it for sure. I thought she was going to pull her gun out. You're right. They're being safe. They're like being conscious of not firing a gun into the air.
Without a rocket launcher, you know, on the shoulder. Yeah, because they started with the thing trying to get it off the road, and then she tasered it. It would have been great if it had just kept going until they had to nuke it. You know, like they were just trying weapon after weapon after weapon.
Cannot stop it. Yeah, that was great.
And the way it bounced over the, oh my gosh. And the way he shot, he went, it bounced. And I was like, that's a very nice line, because obviously it's a double meaning. Like, if people leave something, they've bounced. Mm-hmm. And it did physically bounce. That's a very nice line. Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. And Sue and Maddie in in the call centre trying to work out where the wind's blowing and like which way it's going to turn on the road. Like in my back with a pumpkin. So yeah, that was very fun. And I knew that one was coming because we'd seen the shots of them filming it, and it was people in like the green gimp suits with big poles attached to the pumpkin, like rolling it down the street.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, that was really fun. And then we had two other emergencies, but they were sort of the same emergency to begin with. And we had another situation, which we had in episode 1, of just stop the vehicle. Because the idiot guy, and I'm going to say idiot girlfriend because she let him drive, with this much vision.
Mm-hmm.
You should both be arrested immediately. That's it. No driving licenses for either of you, because you both made that decision. Horrendous. And then when he's like, oh, I can't see, you need to undo the other button, then just stop the car while you do that. There's nobody on the road. You're not going to hold anyone up. Your party will still be there if you wait 30 seconds. And it just astonishes me that people are so dead set on getting to where they're going that they just abandon all ideas of safety.
I think it has to do with people, their comfort level with driving, and how like they just feel like nothing can happen, nothing bad can happen if they're driving. I think a lot of people feel that comfort because they drive their car every single day, and so they feel like it's going to be safe, right? So yeah, that guy was an idiot. He could have just like pulled that back and like had it like maybe hooked on his glasses or something. He had glasses on, I think he did. But or maybe not. But he could have just pulled that back and put the head on after or something like that. I was the head resource one year, and I remember I had like actually it was like a kind of a cloak of see-through black fabric that I could see through, but you couldn't see my face through it, and I had big fake shoulders, and it just looked like a stump, and it was very, very apparent that I could see where I was going. I didn't try driving in it though. I was a kid, but anyway.
Yeah, but like he could have, and she was like, well, you could have just got dressed when we got there. Yeah, but he could have just unbuttoned more of it so he could pull it behind his ears or whatever he needed to do, and then just do up 4 buttons when he got there. Like, he just, and he couldn't even really, like, hold it, he couldn't open the door, so, like, what? Oh, just stop it. It makes me so mad, that sort of nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, then we get the whole costume curse, which I don't think I've heard of before, but...
Oh, I was going to ask if that was a thing. Did they never mention that before?
I don't remember it. That does not mean that it's never happened.
But they could, like, this could be something based on previous episodes, because there were always some kind of issue on Halloween, right? They always have they have a Halloween episode, so there's some funny call on something weird happens on Halloween is kind of the thing, right? That's what that means.
But I don't think I've ever heard them go, it's this year's costume curse, because last year we had a legitimate curse. It looked like the Buck was under because he got boils all over his face because he ripped that guy's arm off, and nobody was like costume curse,
right?
And I feel like they would have meant I would have heard it recently, but anyway. So they crashed while they were in a costume. They hit a guy, and he's carrying a scarecrow. So they think they've hit a guy who's dressed as a scarecrow. She doesn't even remember that they hit anyone. Yeah. She's of no use to anybody. But he knows he hit someone. So the costume curse is that they crashed in the first place. Then the door handle breaks off. Then the jaws run out of battery. So, like, all of it, it's all a nightmare. But what's weird is Eddie says, oh, we can't get him out of the passenger side. That's before Buck has even tried the jaws. So I don't know why they were even suggesting that would have to happen anyway. Then they managed to get the door off anyway, and they get him out the driver's side. So I was like, what? Why was there even a discussion about that? And also, if you're getting him out of the driver's side, why do you need to... You could put a seat collar on him. Why does it matter that the shirt keeps his...
Yeah, I don't know.
Alive?
The other thing is we never really found out what happened to that guy. Like, the pumpkin comes flying out, and the pumpkin is all bloody, right? That he was still being... Like, well, where was he hurt? Like, what happened in this... I don't even know where he was actually injured in this whole scenario, because they just kind of cut past it, right?
Unless, and like, yeah, the pumpkin came out and the bottom of it was all bloody. Maybe that, if we went back to the beginning, we would see that it already had that blood on it. because he's carrying it as though he was beheaded. So like maybe that's part of the costume, but it did when it rolled out. I was like, oh my god, his guts are everywhere. You know,
Yeah, something's
that
wrong.
was when it's laughing. Oh my god! But yeah, no, it was because they were not the point.
Yeah.
The point was the other guy.
You clearly love very much this whole idea of this guy, and I thought they were going to go in a completely different direction when he gets up and he wanders into like the fake coffin. I thought he was going to die in there for real, and like we're going to discover a body in the actual fake coffin on someone's front lawn. I totally thought that's where that was going.
So did I, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because I thought some kids were going to be walking past it and then it was on a timer or like a like a motion detector thing, and it would go wah, and they would be like because there was an actual dead person in it. But for him to go and climb in it, and then when the kids are trick-or-treating, to throw the top open and ask them to keep it down because he's dead. And I was like, oh, and the kids loved it. They were like, what are you supposed to be? And he went, dead. And they were like, I'm so going as that next year.
That was fun.
And he wanders off again. And I was like, oh, I wonder where he's going. It turns out he's gone to find a grave, and he finds a freshly dug grave. And he gets it. And we get the most wonderful funeral scene where they're lowering the coffin, and he's like, you can't, no, this one's taken. And everyone's like, oh my god, Jeremiah, who is the actually dead guy that they're burying, they're like, oh, is he, are we burying him alive? And what I really loved was the priest, vicar, father, whatever he is, going, Jeremiah, is that the because he was in like Bible speak. and he's like, no, and I can't even remember if he even had a name, or but yeah, so the 118 turned up, and he's just happily lying in this grave with sun on his face that moves and moves and moves and moves and moves and moves. The shadow was never consistent. And he's like, they're like, oh god, is he dead? And he goes, yes. Which is like the idea of him being like speaking and saying yes, and he knows that people can hear him, but he's still totally convinced he's dead. And Eddie gets into the grave with him, and he decides that, and they figure out, Hen and Chim figure out what it is, and I'm sure it's a real thing, but it's when the frontal lobe gets damaged and bits stop working, and you think that you are dead or that you don't exist. So Eddie decides to bring him back to life by faking CPR and faking defibrillating him. Yeah. And it works. And I was like, is that how you fix brain damage?
So you have to convince him that he's alive?
Yeah, because they do say it's neurologic, psychological, I can't remember what, but it's like a mix of the two. It's neurological and it's psychological. But it still feels like they said that parts of the brain have been damaged. And so I don't know if you can psychologically fix that. But he is all in. Yeah. He is so excited. He's hugging Eddie and like, my family are going to be so thrilled to hear this. And then that poor woman is like, can we bury my husband now? And I was just like, this is one of the greatest things that has ever happened on 911.
It really is. I think that scene in particular, I'm watching this going, I do love this show now because of scenes like this, because they go from like just kind of crazy serious things. Like the woman was bawling at the beginning of that scene. She was there to pick at her husband. Like the tone shifted so abruptly. And it was hilarious when they got into it, and they made him think that he was being like clear, and Eddie backs off and so nothing happened. They act like it was like he was brought back to life and like, oh, you're alive. It was so funny. It was such a great.
And then they just turn the machine off so it starts beeping. Absolutely genius. And I always love Eddie best when he's funny. I think Ryan is a very, very good comedic actor. So I always love him when he's funny. But yeah, I just loved the way it sort of went through the whole episode. It just kept getting bigger and better every time.
Yeah, keep coming back to this guy and seeing what part of this whole journey he's on. Please someone find him. I just wanted somebody to find him and get him some help. I totally thought he was going to die.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we had a guy, we've had a character who, we had in the first episode, we had dead, not dead, dead, not dead. And now this time, we've had a guy who thought he was dead, but wasn't. Bobby alive. That's all I'm saying. We did have one, again, I think season 3, their Halloween episode, was one where a woman, I think it was a woman who was driving her car, and she hit a guy, and he went through her windshield. And he was like stuck through her windshield like this. And she got up, she drove home, and she went into her house, and she left him there. And then she got up the next day to go to work, and she drove off with him, and he's still in her windshield. And it's because she had some kind of head injury, again, that she just didn't know it had happened. And so she was driving around and people were like, great costume, like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then people started to go, I think that's actually a guy in her windshield. But yeah, and then the other one was the Exorcist moment.
Like I said, it goes from right to that. That was before this, right? Was that before this one or after that?
Well, I mean, it was in the middle of them. It was after the pumpkin.
Right.
So we went from the pumpkin to an exorcism. Like, talk about a tone shift.
Yeah. Now, do you think, before we get into what happens, do you think that like, from a writer's room perspective, they're saying, okay, we want there to be, like, this is going to be a scene in which, like, this very religious group is performing an exorcism. What kind of illness can get us to the point? Like, did they do research on this to find out, like, to get to tetanus, what it ultimately was? Or, like, I don't know. I just wonder how they kind of reverse engineered the situation where we know we want her to be thrashing on the table and doing all these things. What could get her to be doing that, right? They have to do that kind of research.
Yes, that is how I picture it happening, is that they have an idea of where they want to be. And unless it's something they've read about, like because a lot of these things have happened. So unless they've specifically heard about, like, oh, there was an exorcism and the girl had tetanus and she bit a guy. But other than that, yes, I imagine they're like, okay, it's an Eddie-centric sort of religious episode. Wouldn't it be great if we had an exorcism? All right, Bob and Jane, you figure out, your job this week is to figure out what illness we could throw into an exorcism. And I say that having had no experience for writer's room ever. That's just how I think.
That's exactly what that is, right? So they come up with a scenario. We have this very religious, like, I don't even know. It doesn't even say, obviously Christian, I guess, but like doesn't say what
denomination.
No, they seem very, very culty. Honestly, they get you a little straight.
They fully are, and they have her tied down to a table with, very thick ropes, and they're all waving their arms about and trying to drive out the devil. And she like quietens down, and he does the stupid thing that you should never do. He like leans over her and is like, you're with us, Sister Abigail, and she bites him like right here. She just
does he do that? I'm like, oh, he was gonna lose an ear. He was gonna, like, I totally thought. The two grabs his shoulder right here, like just kind of clamps onto it and has a lockjaw, as it turns out. Tetanus gives you lockjaw. So they can't get her off, basically. That's the emergency. What was the line? Because there was a snappy line during that call.
There was. And this was the one really snappy line that we got, which I thought was really funny, because we've had like funny thing happens, serious, like creepy, awful thing happening. This is the one we're going to give the pithy quip to, which was, the devil's got its teeth into Brother Isaac.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, they obviously weren't any clearer than that because Hen walks in and says, "This isn't the kind of bite I was expecting." That like they were like they thought that maybe they were going to come in and they've got a dog called Devil, you know. Like,
Yeah.
no down, Devil, bad boy. But no, it's a lady. And then they go. What I really liked was they were like, "Oh no, we're doing an exorcism and we need to pray for her." And Chimney goes, "Okay, maybe the praying could happen outside." Very good at clearing a room. And he goes, "But could you take them outside?" And a man does the least subtle door shut you've ever seen.
And okay. He should have just left it. Nobody would have even thought anything of it having the door ajar like that. He's like, walks away, and Buck's like, even Buck, as self-involved as Buck is this week, he still picks up on something might be going on behind that door. Let's go see.
I mean, he's still engaged in the emergencies. He's not so caught up in his own grief that he's not doing his job well. He's still doing his job well. So yeah, he does do that. But like, dude, just not smart. And then we find out that they've kept her locked in a cupboard on a rusty bed with rusty, iron chains around her wrists and stuff. And so Chimney figures out it's tetanus, and that's why it's good to have a paramedic as your captain, because he knows all about that sort of stuff. So he says, your daughter didn't need prayers; she needed antibiotics. Like, that was another good Chimney line. And then, but the guy who's been bitten, Brother Isaac, is still like, "I will not let the devil have you." And Eddie just goes, "Respectfully, sir, we need you to shut up. We need you to shut it. Would hate to hit the wrong patient." Because he's like, "Oh, Yeah. And then it doesn't work, the like muscle relaxant or whatever they're trying to give her. And Chimney again figures out that she might be overstimulated by the lights. So they shut that, they turn all the candles off, and they shut all the things, and they turn all the lights off. And then what they do is point 5, torches in her face. And I'm like, I don't think you're helping. What you've done is you've gone from a very bright room, and it was still like a dim, bright room, to like very focused.
Although I will say there's a very nice shot there, Chimney blowing out the candle, like one shot of him like straight on. It's very nice.
Yeah. That was very horror movie-esque, that he came out of the dark and then he went back into the dark when he blew the light out. Beautifully done. And then we get, that Abigail, I think her name was, being taken out to the ambulance. And I like that because the parents were like, "Can we go with her?" And Hen is very much more subtle than the guy who was closing the door. She's like, "You can visit her later." And then Eddie's like, "No."
She's even going to want to talk to you. Why wouldn't she want to talk to us? Because he kept her prisoner and tried to exercise her. I don't know. It was weird. What we heard is that she wanted to break. She just wanted to break away. She just wanted to leave and go off and do her own thing. And they kept her there against her will, basically, right? That's the.
So they didn't think she was possessed by the devil immediately. It was only once she got the tetanus. And then we see the guy's, like beautiful bite that he's got on his neck. And no one at any point says to him, "Have you had a booster?"
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She's got tetanus, and I think you should maybe make sure. And I was like, are they not going to send him to the hospital too? But of course they're not, because Athena's turning up and they're going to arrest all of them. For endangerment of a child and neglect and all sorts of marvellous, juicy things that I hope they all get done for. So yeah, so we had it was good emergencies this week. I thought they were all, and to be fair, I do like all the character stuff, but I love the emergencies. That's why I watch first responder shows. Is I just want to see people getting into ridiculous situations and then other people breaking all the rules to get them out of those situations. That's what that's what I love.
Yeah, well, this does that very well.
yeah. So I thought that this week was a real, in the first week we had like the whale and we had the bus with the kids on it and stuff. So that was like a regular 911 week. But it was nice for me to get back to like 3 or 4 emergencies a show, back to the normal procedural sort of stuff. I like it. Yeah. So yeah, we are sad that Abuela died, but we are happy that Athena got to taser a pumpkin.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're still enjoying it.
Yeah, I am.
Now that you've watched like a season and a quarter and a third, I think, with me. Next week is the finale of 9A.
Okay.
But I think we're going to get 9B and 9C this season because they're coming back in January, which is very early. We're only having a few weeks off. And they're coming back in January. And then I think they have a break for the Winter Olympics.
Oh, is that coming up? Where is that this year?
Is it somewhere in Italy or am I completely making that up? I genuinely don't remember. But yeah, so I think that... I love the Winter Olympics because it's got ice skating in it, and I love ice.
That's the one Canada love.
Oh yeah, there is a Canadian. I think she was a Canadian speed skater who has my name. I think there was a year since I've been sick, and I very luckily get benefits from our government, but you have to apply and you have to go through all this stuff, these assessments and prove your worth and whatever to get these benefits. And like just after I'd got them, she went on the telly, and I was like, "Oh my god, what if the Department of Works and Pensions sees this?"
She's totally lying. She could speed skate for.
Yeah, she got like a bronze.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was So I always remember that. So yeah. What else have you been watching?
Well, I'll give you this recommendation because you just said how much you liked medical shows. Have you seen The Pit yet? Have you watched that one?
Oh my god, I love The Pit. Yes, I've seen The Pit.
Yeah, it's an amazing show. That's why we haven't talked about it here yet. But I watched it back like over the summer at some point, and I was one of I don't usually binge TV shows. I usually watch like maybe one episode a day or one episode every couple days. But that was when I couldn't stop. I had to keep watching it just because it's so compelling and the way they tell the story and the way they kind of leave off at the end, and it's like a 24 style, like real time. So the hour is the hour of time that you're watching it. And it was just all the emergencies that happened in that one. It's like, this is America, right? These are all the problems that are happening in America right here in this show. So,
what I loved about it was, I grew up with ER. ER was like the first thing that really got me into medical dramas and Casualty over here. And it's funny, I think I told you last week I've been watching Strictly Come Dancing. One of the contestants this year is a lady who was on ER, and there was a point where Laura Innes, who played Dr. Kerry she was in the audience, and I was like, that's it! Alex is the winner for me because she got someone from ER in the audience of Strictly Come Dancing, and I need nothing else. That's it for me. And so yes, Noah Wyle. But the other thing about The Pit is that you really get to see things happening over a long time. That, like, the old guy, like how long it takes him to die.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that is so brilliant. And how long it takes you to sort out one thing because you can't get, somebody signed off on this, or people are hanging around all day because they need their mum to come pick them up, and, all sorts of, like, just the boring, tedious day-to-dayness of being sick. And I think, they do have the massive emergencies, and they do have the one big, huge, massive emergency. But just how day-to-day injury and illness is, and I think that's so brilliant. And I got very excited because I love Sean Hattersey, have ever since The Faculty. and I was very excited because I knew he was in it. But then he was in the first episode, leaving his shift, and I was like, oh, we'll never see him again. He's only going to be in one episode. But then he turned up again, and I was very excited.
It was that. Yeah, that was good too. Yeah, it was great. The whole thing is great. Lots of great. The cast is incredible. I can't wait for the next season. I'm going to watch it as soon as it comes out. I'm going to find it and watch it because it's just such
It deserved every Emmy that it got. Give them all of the M's. Absolutely terrific show. Yes, I adored The Pit, and I can't wait to see it again. What I will say is 911 Nashville is still terrible.
That doesn't surprise me. Not surprised at all.
That's so stupid. And I know that now I didn't like 911 in the first season, really. It took me a while to get into it. So I'm like trying to give 911 Nashville a little bit of time to find its feet. But so many of the emergencies have been like redos of things we've seen in 911.
Yeah.
That I'm like, is this just for people who've never watched 911? Is it genuinely them trying to get a new audience? Because if they anticipated that most of the audience would be us, why are they doing the book storyline and then the other book storyline and then an NDE right at the end of the first episode, a massive near-death experience at the end of the first episode? Like, we don't know who these people are. We don't care about them enough yet.
Yeah.
So, yes. And this week, first of all, we had a guy who was meant to be doing his fire test, and he walked out in the middle of it. You know, it was his fitness one. It was his skills test where they have to like drag hoses around in a certain amount of time. And he got to like the last thing, and he just sort of, he was dragging all this hose along, and he threw it on the floor and threw his helmet away and walked out because he was pissed off with everybody. So he walked out of his exam. And then later on, he did something so reckless and stupid that he nearly got himself killed. And, you know, he was trying to stop the kids from getting killed, but his actions equally could have killed the kids. And they were like, oh, well, everyone was so impressed with that they've just said that you've passed that exam that you walked out of. And I was like, I would be so pissed if I got rescued by a firefighter who hadn't done the exam. And also they said, yeah, they've decided that they're going to say that you carried that mannequin over the line. And I was like, he wasn't even dragging a mannequin. He was dragging hose. Do you not remember your show?
Oh, well. Well, it is. Lots of shows are like that, right? Where it is rough to go. Most TV shows in this type of production environment take time to get good, right? The first seasons of most shows are not great. So
yeah, you need to get to learn about the characters so that you care about them. And that's absolutely fine.
Even it takes time for the actors to get a handle on the characters, right? They're not able to do that right away, and they're making some weird choices. You could go back and watch them. For first season episodes of 911 are going to be very different than this season, right? Like you said, Buck is...
And they are, but we call that character growth, and we don't talk about it otherwise. Don't do that. Don't ask why Hen doesn't wear glasses anymore. We don't talk about that. Or why she does wear glasses and she never used to. Or there was a point where I was like, oh, she wore glasses then, and then she stopped wearing glasses, and now she's got glasses back again. And that's fine. Maybe she wore contacts for a while, but it was just weird for a bit. So, yes. Okay. Well, brilliant. We shall meet again next week for whatever episode 6 is called. Family Matters, I think.
Oh, maybe Urkel will show up. Right? That would be awesome if that actor was in the show. He's still acting. He's still working.
Is that the kid? Is that the guy whose like parents took all of his money? Is that?
No, that's the Home Alone kid. That's the Home Alone. This is Urkel. Urkel was from Family Matters. He's like, can I do that? I don't.
Yeah, because that's the guy. What's his name? They've got a guy. They've got a character in Avenue Q who is meant to be him in Avenue Q the musical.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
And it's meant to be that actor, I think, Gary somebody.
Oh, you think of Gary Coleman? No, that's from Different Strokes. It's a different actor. Yeah, that makes more sense. That fits. Yeah.
Yeah. And, yes, and his parents like didn't let him keep any of the money that he earned when he was a kid. Yeah. Okay. No. So I don't know what Family Matters is at all.
Well, then never mind. The joke was wasted. But that's okay.
I know that Urkel. When you said is Urkel going to be there, I know that is a big thing. So I knew that you meant like a person, and I think and so I assumed he must have been from Family Matters.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything other than that context.
Okay, let's see what happens next week. It would be great. It would be great if that actor showed up as a little character in the episode.
That would be really funny if he was like doing a magic show, and then just because I want to do magic, and then like he draws back a curtain, and there's Bobby. Go yay! Wouldn't that be a great way to end season 9A? All right, so I will see you in Family Matters.
Okay, bye.
Bye.